Hey, tourpreneurs, it's Mitch Bach, and just a quick note before we begin today's episode. Tourpreneur is currently sponsored by Google. We're thankful for their support of our community, and we are offering with them a completely free course helping you unlock the power and potential of Google's Things to Do program, which is specifically helping tour operators add their tours to Google in new ways that gives you new exposure and more direct bookings. To learn more, go to tourpreneur.com/Google. And as always, show notes, more resources, links to our newsletter, our business coaching community, and so much more are available on tourpreneur.com. Now to the episode.
Welcome to the Tourpreneur Podcast. Travel industry veteran Shane Whaley will take you on a journey with fellow tourpreneurs, sharing their tips, ideas, insights, and success stories to inspire you to make your tour business the best it can be. And now, please welcome your host, Shane.
Well, 25 episodes in, and I guess it had to happen someday. We had a bit of a tech glitch, and I won't bore you with it with my software provider on our episode with John O'Sullivan at Walks 101, where we talk about the free walking tour model. And there was a 6.5 minute or so piece of audio that I didn't get back from the audio company. It's a bit like the Watergate tapes, right? Wasn't there 18.5 minutes missing? But this is far more important because on this segment, John talks us through the actual business model of the free walking tours. And he actually talks us about the challenge he has right now because he's trying to hire full-time guides, and most walking tour guides are freelance, independent contractors, etc. So he quickly talks us through the model as it is today, and he talks to us about what he's trying to do because he is practicing, I guess, conscious capitalism. He's trying to be fair to his tour guides and pay them a 38-hour week salary with everything that comes with that in terms of labor laws. So really, really sorry, but here we go. I've also transcribed this episode. You can find it at tourpreneur.com/26. Over to John. So I wanted to dig a little bit more into the business model of the free tour. So how are you compensating your guides? How does that all work?
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting question right now because I'm at a bit of a crossroads. Something that the way that free tours work throughout the world is pretty similar. Most free walking tours work with independent contractor tour guides, and they all are freelance guides, and then they go on, they give a tour, and at the end of the tour, they say, you're welcome to give a tip, and people give a tip, and all that money stays with the guide. However, the company is actually a marketing agency, and they charge for every lead. They charge for every person who showed up on that tour. And the charge will vary. It's usually somewhere in kind of the, like in Australian dollars, like $3 to $6 range. So you can convert that to whatever currency you like.
So if I understand that correctly, so you charge the guide a fee for everyone who shows up?
Yeah, so up until 2 months ago, I was charging guides $4 for every person who came on the tour. And so if a guide had 30 people on a tour, the guide would pay me $120 for the benefit of having given that tour. Now, any guide who's worth their weight would be able to make roughly around $10 per person. So 30 people on a tour, you make $300 as a tour guide. You pay the company $120 out of that, and everybody's happy. That's in a utopian landscape that works great. And it's also the thing that made me really fired up about free tours. Before I was talking about starting my own business, and then I did free tours in the background. Turned out I made better money as a free tour guide in London than I ever made in my career before or since. And that's including the cost of the marketing fee on there. It's one of those things, it's a rare skill being able to do free tours because you have to be able to combine theatrical ability with guiding ability, with a little bit of school teacher vibes as well, and also not being afraid to talk about money and not being afraid to talk about sales. Anyway, that's how the business model developed back in 2005. And to my knowledge, that's how the vast majority of the world is doing free walking tours. There are some really big problems with it, though. Namely that you have two parties with two different interests. The guide is interested in making as much money as possible. The company is also interested in making as much money as possible. And the way they do that is different. The guide only wants to get people who are likely to tip them lots of money. The company has no disincentive to just throw anybody onto the tour, even if they maybe don't even have mastery of the language. And so that's one of the pain points that happens with these tour companies. And also there's all sorts of other things. Guides know that if it's rainy, people are going to tip this much. If it's sunny, they're going to tip this much. If it's June, they're going to tip this much. If it's Tuesday, they're going to tip this much. If it's guides who do these free tours, we really get to know, like, humans are remarkably predictable. And so especially when you get large scale, you can get to know what your expected earnings are going to be, and you can get pretty good at forecasting it. The thing that no one had done before, to my knowledge, is that they said, as a company, we understand how many people are going to probably show up to the tour. We understand how much people are probably willing to spend on the tour. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take all that money and have that be ours as a company. And we're going to pay the guides a competitive salary. That's what I'm doing. So I've just now hired my first 2 full-time tour guides. And so they're on 38-hour-a-week contracts. They get superannuation, which is Australian for retirement funds. They get paid annual leave. They get all the benefits that you would have in a normal job. And that's something that's really hard to come by, not just in free tours, but throughout the industry. I think that we have a problem in this industry of commodifying guides, of having all of our guides be freelancers. It's really great in the summertime when we really need them, but good luck in the winter. And I understand the need for it because, we have a seasonal industry, but come on. Most companies have some degree of predictability, even in the winter. And so what can we be doing to look after some of our best performing guides? That's a question that I haven't quite figured out yet, but I'm actively trying to fix it. And the way that I'm trying to fix it is by taking on the risk as a business owner, because all the stuff that we talked about what the industry is doing about putting risk on the operators, I realized that I myself was doing the same thing to my guides. I was putting the risk on them, and that wasn't fair. They just want to go out and make their money. And so I pay them a good wage. I pay them well above industry average. But it's something that very much remains to be seen, because I just started doing it 2 months ago. And I'm be curious to check back in with you, and I can share with you about how it goes after we get through our first season.
Yeah, I'd be fascinated to learn more about it, because first of all, I'd take my hat off to you. I think it's the right thing to do. But it's a huge, huge risk, because you don't, and I guess the question I get is why you wouldn't move to just paid tours, so you know exactly what you've got coming in, and you can budget and make sure you're making a profit.
I've had that advice from many, many business advisors, and I get it. It's a good piece of advice, but it's not what I'm fired up about. Free tours are transformational. Like, I think that free tours are doing a service for the industry, because without free tours, people will never experience how great a walking tour can be. They're going to go to the hop on, hop off bus. They're going to go on to the river cruise. They're going to go to the sex museum or whatever thing is like getting tourists excited, and they're not going to really sink their teeth into the city. I get this 18-year-old German to come on my tour, and they love it, and they ask questions the entire time, and they're really fired up. And at the end, they come up to me, they shake my hand and say, "I'm really sorry, I'm a backpacker. I only can give you $2, but you're worth so much more." And that is the best. Like, I will take that over a $50 note, like, because it means that I've meant something to that person. And you see the result of this, because free tours have been operating for nearly 15 years now. And so now those people who started in 2005, who are 18 years old, are coming back with their families, and they're the ones giving the $50 notes. And so I'm not interested in running a traditional tour business. If I wanted to do that, it would have been a much more direct path to success, but it's not the thing that gets me fired up. Like, the thing that gets me fired up is that we are accessing a group of people who never would have done a free walking tour, and we're serving them.
Well, again, I'm taking my hat off to you, because I can hear the passion in your voice for walking tours. And I can only wish you all the very best in what you're trying to do, because you're trying to do this the right way, which is tough.
Thanks for listening to the Tourpreneur podcast. Be sure to visit tourpreneur.com to join the conversation and access the show notes, including links to the resources mentioned on today's episode. This is Tourpreneur.